Thanks for joining us for the Member xCite presentation. The Member xCite presentation is informative, interesting to the audience, and showcases the strengths of the presenter as an entrepreneur and their area of expertise. It's not a sales pitch, it's a 10-minute educational and insightful exploration into what they do. And of course, it's exciting.
Jim Comer is a communication consultant with more than 30 years of experience working with Fortune 500 companies, national associations, and professionals from a myriad of industries. He's even written jokes for Joan Rivers and a well-received monologue for the legendary Bob Hope. Well, what sets Jim apart as a coach and workshop leader is his ability to edit and sharpen your content while creating a supportive space to help bring out your individuality, develop your confidence, and hone your delivery. By focusing on both content and delivery, Jim helps his clients create and deliver powerful presentations that audiences love. Folks, please help me welcome Mr. Jim Comer.
And I got into one of the best acting classes in the city, which is a little scary because almost everybody else in the class had performed, off Broadway or in college. I was the only new guy in the whole class. And they had this one exercise called song and dance. It terrified me. Here's how it worked. You had to pick a song, any song, and you did it syllable by syllable, extending the syllables. And you had to relax your body and make eye contact with the other people in the class. I was terrified. Here's what I looked like. Happy birthday to... The sweat was coming down my face, going down my shirt. It was all wet down here. I was shaking all over. And the teacher was saying, Mr. Comer, relax your face. Well, I stuck with it. And gradually, I got better. And after 2.5 years of the class, I started auditioning in New York. And I got to tell you, that was challenging because there were 50,000 would-be actors in the city competing for maybe 1,000 jobs in the whole year. And it was not easy. And naturally, I did get some jobs eventually. And my best year as an actor, get ready for this, I made $3,300 as an actor. Don't look down on that because that figure put me in the top 10% of the Actors Union membership for earnings for that year. So naturally, I had to have some jobs on the side. And I had a bunch of them. I was a perfectly terrible waiter at many restaurants. I painted apartments. I wrote jokes for the comedian Joan Rivers, who paid a princely $7 a line. And I was on 6 quiz shows, including Jeopardy. But the most important thing I did was to do a comedy act with this wonderful actress. We wrote sketches and monologues. We put together an hour of material and we started going to talent contests. And we won the contest at the most famous comedy club in New York, the Improv. So that meant we got on at the Improv. Of course, they put us on at 3 in the morning in front of 10 drunks. But the most important thing about that experience was we got a manager. And the manager sent our material to a new young producer at NBC named Lorne Michael, who was putting together a brand new show that nobody had ever heard of called Saturday Night Live. And Lorne liked our material. He invited us to come into his office at NBC, and he told us right in front of our faces, I want you to be writers on this show. And we'll be getting the writers together at the end of next month, and we'll all start working on the material. Well, we were thrilled. Well, the next month came, week after week, and we never heard from Lorne. We called, the manager called, we tried again. We never heard from him again. He ghosted us. And in October, when the show premiered and became an overnight sensation, I thought I was going to die, but I didn't. About 2 years later, I quit acting and I went to work for Avon Products World Headquarters. I was hired to write sales meetings. It turned out I was pretty good at it. And after about a year of that, they asked me to write a speech for the CEO who was going to be giving a big talk at a banquet that was going to be live streamed all over the country. Well, I had never written a speech before, but I tried to make it warm and personal and have some humor. It turns out everybody liked the speech. And they then asked me to come hear the CEO. He was going to practice it in front of about 20 or 30 people at home office. And so I went, I was excited to hear my speech. He was terrible. He was a terrible speaker. And I thought to myself, oh my God, he's going to ruin my speech. And so I can't believe I did this. I went up to him after he'd done it and I said, Mr. Casey, I think you can be even better if we could rehearse a few times. He said, well, I've never had anybody ask me to rehearse. And there was a long pause. He said, I think it's a good idea. So I got to rehearse with him 3 times before he gave the speech. And I used everything I learned in that acting class. And he got better, much better. And on the night of the speech, he hit it out of the park and everybody loved what he did. And suddenly, overnight, I was a speech coach and a speech writer, and my life changed. And I've been doing it ever since. I work with corporate executives, entrepreneurs, government officials, anybody who needs help in making a great presentation. And I always tell them 3 things. Number 1, share your individuality, because individuality leads to likability, and likability allows you to connect with the audience. Because you see, most people get up in front of a group and they try to be right. They try to not make a mistake and they get narrow. I don't want you to be right. I want you to be real. I want you to be the person that your friends and family know and enjoy. That guy, that woman. As a speech writer, I want the script to sound like the way you really talk. Because you see, most corporate speeches sound like they came from a jargon machine. I mean, they're littered with, catchphrases and buzzwords and acronyms, not the way we really talk in life. As a speech coach, I want you to be authentic. About 6 weeks ago, I had the pleasure of listening to Mr. Scott King on one of these, did an xCite presentation. And he was, and I'm not saying this to make him feel good, he was terrific. I mean, he was warm and he was wise and he was passionate. I'm sitting there going, well, I hope in my next life, I come out sounding like Scott. But in this life, I've got to be the best me I can be. My phone just went off. So there you go. And things like that will happen when you're speaking and you just have to keep going. So, as a speech coach, it's really important to be real. Now, the second thing I tell people is be clear. Clarity is essential for entrepreneurs who are trying to, pitch someone on their project, or a business owner who's trying to explain his goods or services. 2 tips I'll give you on clarity. Number 1, don't use long, fancy words when a short word would do just as well. We don't want to see you show off. Secondly, please, I beg you, don't use complicated slides with teeny little fonts. Why would you want to give your audience an eye exam? They will not love you for that. One of the most important things I can say to a client is, I don't understand. What do you mean? Because see, I am an average audience member. And if I don't get what you're saying most of the audience won't get it. But if I get it, America will get it. Australia will get it. Canada will get it. You just don't want to leave your audience confused. Number 3, tell me a story. The best way to have audience remember what you say is by stories. And the truth is, most audiences remember very little of what a speaker says. So if you want to be remembered, wrap your key points in stories and anecdotes, and the audience is much more likely to go home remembering them. Well, let's take this speech as an example. I spent the first 4.5, 5 minutes of the speech telling you stories about my life. I told you about acting class. I told you about my incredible disappointment with Saturday Night Live. And I told you about my first experience as a speechwriter and speech coach. And I am not the only one that has great stories. Each and every one of you has terrific stories, wonderful, one-of-a-kind stories, if you'll just have the courage to use them and connect them with your key points. I have a very simple business plan. I write, edit, and help people deliver fantastic presentations. And I can do it in person, which I love, or online. I also do presentation skills workshops. I work with 6 to 10 people. We work two days, about 4 hours each day. We have videotape. They do short exercises. We tape them, and then we play back the tape, and they make enormous jumps in their skills in just 2 days. I also do a keynote speech on how to be a powerful presenter. And I try to make it funny and a lot of interactive. I've spoken in 26 states and Canada, but not in Australia, not yet. You know, when I got up here and I began, I said that I got into this business by accident, but I have stayed in it because I love it. I mean, I am passionate about helping people who overcome their fears and be confident, authentic speakers in front of any audience, anywhere. It gives me great joy. Scott, thank you for inviting me to be here today. And despite the telephone call, we did okay.
We did.
Thanks a lot.
I loved it even more the second time around. So I won't knock on your door again in the next 6 months, but maybe I'll send someone to visit you. Folks, if you do want to ask a question, you can use the electronic, throw your hand up there. Jim, let me make this a real question. You said be real, be authentic. Help me get better. As you guys, you may be surprised, but there's times when I'm reading a script here because I'm new to this and I'm trying to figure it out and I'm trying to get comfortable. I want to respect what BX expects of me. How do I do that better? And any advice?
Well, I mean, I think it is definitely possible to read a script and still be authentic. Because I mean, I had little notes here for myself. I mean, I practice what I preach. And I've done lots of times where I'll have a script, but if you spend I call it taking visual gulps. I'll look down at the script and then I'll go as long as I can before I need it again. Then I'll look down again and keep going. And the audience is okay with that. As long as you're spending most of your time making eye contact and connecting, they don't mind if you look down. They don't mind if you're reading a little bit. Just try to make the reading sound as much as you really would when you're talking. And I think you do that. I could see a few times when you were reading, but you didn't change. You sounded the same as when you weren't reading. It's the people that get up and they're doing, I am so glad to be here today. I can't tell you how much I enjoy it. Well, no, that doesn't work.
Very good.
Reading. And the other thing, how many times have we all seen, sometimes big executives, they get up in front of a group, it could be a big audience, and they say, I'm so glad to be here today, and I know we're going to have a good time. Did we just believe that? Yeah. No, because their body and their voice tone didn't say what the words said. If you're going to say, I'm glad to be here, you got to say, I am so glad to be here today. I know we're going to have a good time. See, my whole body said it. My vocal tone said it. My eye contact said it. Look, that's really key.
Well done. Shan, you have a question?
Yes, it's more of a fun question. This is also probably Jim to show you what a great storyteller you are. You mentioned that you were on Jeopardy.
I was.
How did you do
I was
that?
back long
I want to
ago
go on Jeopardy. I want to go there.
Well, I was in it when it was still in New York before they moved to the West Coast, and it wasn't the guy who just died. It was a guy before him. And here's the funny part: I had never seen the show. I did it as a dare, and when they had the audition, there was like 30 of us in the room, and they had tests for us to take. They said, "But now we want you to answer the test the same way, that same unusual way we do on the show. Well, I had no idea what they were talking about because I'd never seen the show. You know, you were supposed to answer the question by giving a question. So I had to stop the entire audition and admit that I'd never seen the show. And they looked at me with daggers. But nevertheless, I passed the test and I got on the show. I came in second by one question.
Ooh, good job. I'm impressed.